Have you ever heard of the story of the Firebird? This Russian folk story has inspired artists, composers, and choreographers to create beautiful works of art such as paintings, music, and ballets. The tale of the Firebird starts off in a magnificent palace that belonged to a great Tsar. In his palace there was a garden with an apple tree that bore golden apples. The Tsar noticed that his golden apples were disappearing during the night. So the Tsar sent his sons to the garden to discover who was stealing the apples. Now the two oldest sons fell asleep, but Prince Ivan, the youngest son, he laid awake, and he saw the garden fill with a radiant light as the bird flew in and perched on an apple tree. It was the Firebird. The Firebird's wings were like flames, her eyes sparkled like crystals, and Prince Ivan crept slowly to her, trying to catch her. But the Firebird flew swiftly away, and the prince was left holding a single feather pulled from the bird's tail. Now the Tsar ordered his sons to capture the Firebird, so his golden apples would be safe. And Prince Ivan started on a quest to catch the Firebird. Along the way, Prince Ivan meets a gray wolf, a golden maned horse, and a princess named Princess Elena. Fairy tales and folk tales are used to teach listeners. Older generations pass down the stories to younger generations. Do you have any stories that you pass down in your family? The artist of this lacquer painting created this image in a very special way. Can you tell what part of the story they depicted? Why do you think they did that? Are the characters in the story moving or very still? How can you tell if they're in motion? Artists can use line to move a viewer's eye through a composition or arrangement of elements in an artwork. Lines can also be used to show movement, like wind blowing through a fabric or a feathered tail shooting through the air.
Hi everybody, it's Carrie, museum educator from the Hyde Collection. This week's project for Artful Afternoons is a pulled string painting. Now we are going to make a Firebird. So what colors do you think we should use for a Firebird? I'm going to use warm colors. Colors like red, yellow, and orange. I don't have orange at home, so I'm going to have to mix some by mixing yellow and red together to make some orange. The other material you'll need for a pulled string painting is a piece of string. You can use yarn or twine or anything that you might have in your home. You'll also need a piece of paper that is large enough that you can fold in half. Alright guys, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually fold my piece of paper in half. I have this nice big piece of white paper, anything you might have at home. Okay, fold right in half, it doesn't matter each way. I'm going to press down and open it up. Then I'm going to take my string and place it in one of my colors. Now I'm going to pick orange and use my paintbrush to make sure it gets really covered in nice orange paint. But I'm leaving the end unpainted so I have a place to grab it. Okay, now with this long piece of string, I'm going to lay it in the inside of my paper. Maybe I'll loop it and pull it around. You want to have the unpainted part hanging out like a little tail. And I'm going to press this down. Your hands will sometimes get a little bit of paint on your fingers. That's okay. I'm going to press down with one hand. And then I'm going to pull the string out. Now make sure you're being careful because the string comes out might fling some paint. You can move it to different parts. Okay, and And you want to see what happens when we open it up? Whoa, we get a really cool picture. Now you can decide if this is done just like this, or you can take your string. I like to recycle my string and use the same one a couple of times. And I'm gonna put it in another color. So maybe this time, I'm gonna stick it in red. And you can use your fingers or a paintbrush, whatever you have around, to make sure your string gets nice and painty. Okay? Cut it out. And again, you're going to place the string in some loopy patterns, maybe in some different spots where you weren't before. Maybe I'm going to pull out this side. Close your paper again. Put one hand down, other hand pulling it out. There we go. Now let's open up and see what we get. Oh, cool. It's starting to kind of look like a bird. Let's put some yellow in. Again, I'm trying to keep my fingers clean. Not that that's ever possible. When you're making art, sometimes it gets messy. Okay, oh, I got lots of yellow on here. So I'm not sure where it's gonna go. It's gonna go this way. Oh, paintbrush is getting messy. And remember to leave out a little section. Hold it down nice and tight. And pull out. Now I've done all three colors. Whoa! There's my Firebird. Now I can let this dry, and when I am ready and it is dry, I can add details to my Firebird like talons or a beak, or maybe a tail, all kinds of different things. Okay, now that my drawing is dry, I can use a marker. I have a Sharpie marker, but anything that you have at home to add some details to make it look more like a Firebird. So I might add some talons, and I kind of see this as being one of its wings, so I might want to add some feathers. And maybe this is its beak, and maybe it's got some frills. Maybe this is part of its tail. Maybe it's got really interesting feathers that hang off of it. Now the fun thing about this project also is that you end up with a mirror image that's completely symmetrical, and it is exactly kind of the same going across from each other. So you could do the same bird, or you can even change it so it looks like a different bird. Maybe his other foot is over there. The fun thing also with this is that because the string pulls and you get this really great movement with lines, you can see your bird in flight or in action, very similar to the types of figures that the Russian lacquer artists were using to create their figures.